Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
Look, I already had you up here. I'm already messing up. Good evening, my lovelies. Welcome to a Tuesday night edition of HomeFront Sitrep. We're going to have a wonderful night tonight. It's been a scorching day here in Kentucky, but we have this awesome guest with us tonight, Mr. Scott DeLuzio. I hope I said that right.
You did.
I didn't ask you. That was awesome.
And you nailed it. So we're good.
Thanks. So he's coming on with us when he has Drive On Podcast. Doing some great things with that from the sounds of it. And I can't wait to hear more. But of course, I want to go on and tell them more about you because there is actually more that I know about you that we haven't discussed. And but I really want you to introduce yourself. But he is, I will say, he is our Army National Guard veteran. He served for 6 years and he was in Afghan. But he's also a Gold Star brother. And I think that's going to be something very important that we talk about tonight. But without further ado, Scott, tell us more about you.
Absolutely. Well, you covered some of the big pieces, but I can probably dive into a little bit of the more details on there. Like you said, I was a Army National Guard soldier. I served in the Connecticut Army National Guard for about 6 years as an infantryman. And when I joined, it was one of those things where it was after 9/11. When 9/11 happened, I was one of those people who was ready to just go rush out to a recruiter and just say, screw everything else that I have going on. I'm jumping in and I'm joining right now. But I was in college at the time, and I was like, okay, if I don't finish college now, I'm never going to finish it. So I might as well just stick it out and finish it, right? And this was 2005. I heard a report in the news that said the military was struggling to meet their recruiting numbers. And I was like, what the hell? This is only like 4 years after 9/11. And I'm like, where are all these people who were racing to the recruiters? Like, what happened to all these people? Like, where did that sentiment go? Where did all that patriotic pride and all the, the way people were on September 12th? What happened to all of that? And then I realized, holy crap, I'm one of those people. And I haven't done anything yet. And so I was like, well, I better get off my ass. I'm young enough, I'm fit enough, I'm perfectly capable. Why not? Mm-hmm. And I had just graduated college in 2004. So I just started my first job out of college. And I was like, well, I can't just leave this job and go, active duty. That would be kind of the wrong thing to do. So I went National Guard. I was able to stay close to home, keep the job that I had. I had to take a couple months off for training, but sure, they were totally cool with that. I actually thought I didn't know anything about like the employment laws or anything like that. I was so nervous going to talk to HR at the company, and I was like, I'm walking in here, I'm getting fired. That's the bottom line. That's what was happening. That was in my head, but I was like, if that's what was meant to be, then that's what was meant to be, and maybe I'd just go active duty at that point. But the way employment laws are. They couldn't fire me even if they wanted to,
Right.
for that purpose. I'm sure they could have found something else because I probably screwed something up, but yeah,
Luckily, that's not
luckily
what
I did. Right, right. So, so yeah, did serve for about 6 years.
happened.
Did do a deployment to Afghanistan in 2010. You mentioned that I'm a Gold Star family member. My younger brother also served in the Army National Guard. He was in the Vermont Army National Guard because he was going to school up in Vermont, where he learned about the National Guard. He wanted to join the military, and so a guy that he went to school with told him about the National Guard because he was in it, and he was hooked, and he was sold pretty easily on that. And so my brother actually joined first, and that kind of planted the seed for me too a little bit, like, hey, this is a thing that I could do. I could do it part time and also keep my regular civilian job. That's kind of cool. um and yeah, so he and I both were deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. And unfortunately he did not make it home from that deployment, and I'm sure we'll get into more details on that a little bit later, but that's it's a little bit about me, in my military background. You mentioned the podcast as well. The Drive On podcast is focused on helping military veterans with wide variety of issues that they may be dealing with, by sharing stories from other veterans who might be inspirational to some folks. Let them know, hey, there is a chance that I can figure this stuff out. Like, so following the footsteps of somebody else, right?
Mm.
And also talking to organizations, other nonprofits and other organizations that provide services to veterans that may not be very well known. And so I try to shine light on those types of services, so that way, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, "Hey, I've tried everything," well, I can guarantee you, after 400 and almost 430 some odd episodes that I've put out, no,
Ooh,
you haven't.
ooh, that's a lot. That's
It
a
is a
lot.
lot.
I like it. I know the time it takes for that, but it's so worth it. It's
It is. It
so,
is.
so worth it.
And in a way, it's kind of selfish on my part too, because it's like almost a form of therapy for me too. When I'm talking to other folks and hearing their stories and getting inspired by the stuff that they're doing and everything, I'm like, man, that's better than a therapy session.
Right.
And it's free.
I know. As we've talked about that recently, like it's came up in the past few podcasts about we almost do this selfishly. And I guess I'd never thought about it that way. I know that Willis has from time to time because it's his escape. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's his healing as well. And he's just now starting his VA things, all the things. So
Yep.
he's going through it. The podcast is definitely a nice therapy for him. And then, talking to other brother and sisters and other organizations and all of the things that are out there and being
That's
able
right.
to even if it's just that one person,
Yeah.
because sometimes it doesn't have to be a veteran, it doesn't have to be a first responder. It's just if you're able to reach that one person, there's where that selfishness comes in, because I say I'm able to lay my head down at night. It's just, I don't know. There's something so fulfilling about it. But
Right. Right. And because not only do I get the opportunity to talk to other veterans and other people too. It's not just veterans that I have on the show, but I get to
right.
talk to people, and I know that after that conversation, there's probably somebody out there who's going to listen to it. Maybe not the day that the episode gets released, maybe not, the week after. Maybe at some point someone's going to stumble across that episode. It's going to have that little nugget of information that
Hmm.
maybe just turns the light bulb on in their head, and they're like,
Yeah.
I I finally get it now. Now I can see the path to whatever wellness is for them, whatever thing that they've been struggling with.
Yeah.
Um, ag- and like I said, we cover a wide variety of issues. We cover, mental health related things, personal relationships, careers, education resources, finances, all the taboo topics that you're not supposed to talk about.
Sure.
We cover
Sure.
all those.
All the
The only
things that
thing we
you
don't
didn't
do is
realize you needed, and
right, right. And so we talk about all those things because if you don't talk about it, it's not going to get better. You're not going to
right.
be able to work through it. You're just,
Mhm.
if you keep doing the same thing that you've always done, you're going to keep getting the same results that you've always gotten. And that's not the way to do it.
Well, it's,
And
they say what's the definition of insanity? It's like trying the same thing
that's it.
over and over again and expecting something different out of it. And it's like until you make a difference or change something, it's just going to continue to be the same.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
insane. It literally is insanity.
Oh,
You
yes, and
can't
sometimes
expect
it feels
anything
like
to
it
change.
too.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. Yeah.
we've been there for
Yeah.
sure. I know we talked about it a little bit before the show, but can you tell everybody that's watching and anybody that will hear this what brought you on to starting Drive On?
Yeah. So um I mentioned I was in Afghanistan. The
Mhm.
company that I served with, we were very fortunate, didn't lose any soldiers while we were over there as an infantry company in 2010 in Afghanistan. If you look at the numbers, it was, I think, the deadliest year in Afghanistan. And, um, so we're pretty fortunate that we didn't lose anybody while we were over there in our company, anyways. Um, and when we came home, we started losing people that I served with, and obviously after the first one, that was rough, but then the second one, and then you start hearing of other people that you served with, and it's like, oh my god, like what is going on with these
Yeah.
people? Why is this happening? And I couldn't sit around waiting for another phone call or another text message or some other, social media message or something like that, just letting me know, hey, yeah, so and so is gone now.
Yeah.
And like I didn't want to sit around waiting for that. So I was like, I got to do something, and I need to do it in a way that reaches as many people as possible.
Mhm.
And I was like, podcasts are awesome because they are free. So there's no financial burden. As long as you have access to the internet, you can listen
Right.
to a podcast. Excuse me. Um, you can listen to a podcast, for free. And I was like, that was very important to me. I wanted to make it easy, low barrier of entry, doesn't take a lot of resources. Most people have a cell phone these days, and you can probably
Yeah.
listen to stuff on there, if not your computer or something like that. Most people can get access to this type of stuff.
Mhm.
um and so I was like, okay, great, that's a perfect thing. Big problem though, I didn't have a clue what I was doing as far as the technology side of the podcast. I didn't know how to record it. I didn't know how to host it. I didn't know any of that stuff. The first 6 episodes that I did, I recorded them, and nobody other than my wife and me knew that I was doing a podcast. Um, those episodes went out, and I didn't let anybody know because I was like, this is gonna it's gonna be awful, and nobody's gonna listen to it, and it's gonna be I and in hindsight, that's the worst way to launch a podcast. It's
Sure.
absolutely the most awful way to do it. You gotta let everybody and their brother know, but that's the way I did it. And then once when I started letting people know, I had people started reaching out, and they're like, "Hey, I got a story to share. I want to share it on your show. Can I do that?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, you can. Come on." It was
Please.
just me babbling for the first 6 episodes. Yes, I need more people. I need
Yes. Give me a conversation.
give me something, damn it. Come on.
But you did it for such a mm, we talked about the selfishness in it, but you did it for such a selfless reason, and
Right.
I, that excites me, and I love the fact that you're here and talking with us, and like I said before, it's like finding that like-minded of just doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? And
Sure.
finding a way, and then you even describing it now, and it's like as many people as you can reach. And what came to mind was a podcast because it's free for
Yeah.
everybody. And not even looking at the financial burden that comes in the background sometimes of having a podcast and the things
Mhm.
you have to do and get, but it's that ability to reach as far and wide as you possibly can And looking back at some of the podcasts you've done, I have not looked at all 430 something of them, but just seeing the stories that you're sharing and how that can just touch somebody. And like you said, even if it's somebody not watching now or listening now, it's out there, and that resource is out there, and it's something that will be found, and it will be shared, and somebody else may hear about it and go, hey, I heard this. And it comes down to, it doesn't matter where they heard it.
Exactly.
It's just that they heard it, and that's available to them. And that's the beautiful thing about a podcast.
And there's this one lady who reached out and let me know that she listens to the show. She's a mother of a veteran, and the veteran is having some troubles, and he's not getting the help that he needs, and all that kind of stuff. And he doesn't want to go to the VA. He's like written off the VA and all that kind of stuff. But he doesn't know where to go. He's not quite ready to kind of take that next step to do something else. And so she's been listening to episodes, and she's been just writing down. So each episode, okay, here's like the resource, and here's like listen to from 10 minutes and 18 seconds to 12 minutes and 14 seconds. So when he's ready, he just has to listen to a short 2-minute segment, and that's all he needs to listen to just to get the gist of what it is that we're talking about here. And so she goes and listens to
cry like that.
I know, well, I know, she, like, there's a lot of episodes, man. If she's listened to all of those, that's some dedication.
That's a mama for you.
I mean, after I'll be honest, like I put like so much time in recording all these things and then editing all of them. It's like by the time I'm done editing everything, it's like I've heard it enough. I don't want to listen to it again and again and again. And she's out there, she's listening to all these, and she's writing down all these things, so that way she can say, "Oh, go listen to episode 37 or whatever, and listen to
From
this time period."
Frame.
Or she's writing down the resources, like, what's the organization and what do they do and that kind of stuff, and how can that help you. And she's doing that, and so that way now he just has like a short, like, Cliff's Notes version of the show, basically, and he can take that and use it for however is going to help him. So it's not all veterans listening to it, but at the end of the day, it's helping them. And so, like you said, I don't care where they get the information, whether it's from the show, whether it's from their mother, whether it's, I have other podcasters on the show too who have a very similar mission to what I have.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier before we started recording. I don't care if they go and listen to that show and they find the information out from that show.
Right.
Great. Mission accomplished at that point, right? Like that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to expose people to more and more resources. The more resources that they get exposed to, the more likely it is that they are going to get the help that they need. And that's at the end of the day, the name of the game.
It's the beautiful part about the networking of it, and not just with podcasters. Like, we look at the VSOs that we bring on, and that's, I think, our favorite part about that, is where we're connecting them together too, and you're creating this, if you want to call it a yellow book or a Rolodex or whatever it may be, of all of these resources throughout the nation. And we even have some that are outside of it. So, whether you're in Florida or Montana or Maine or just anywhere, you go out to Arizona, like if there's something that we can connect, the outdoor therapy that they have in Washington with somebody in Florida because they're going on vacation and they just need that, oh God, I'm here and my demons are hitting. Like, connect me with somebody, and they say, hey, I got a guy for that. And
that's right.
And being able to share that. And like you said, where it's, even if we're not doing it for somebody, because somebody might not want to listen to me and Willis. They might not want to look at his face, and they might not want to listen to my mouth. Like it's just what it is. And they might want to come over here and talk to Scott or listen to Scott, and it resonates better, because
that's right.
That's the thing. It's just like when you have these veterans going to find a therapist, they're not all going to be right for them. They're not. And sometimes you don't connect with somebody as well. But if we're all sharing that same network of people and then finding others off of it, and and able to, maybe somebody tells it a little differently than somebody else just because it's a voice difference or different words, and that has the ability to reach somebody,
Mhm.
the true mission right there. Make
Exactly.
sure that it reaches somebody.
Yeah. Exactly. Get it
Mm.
in front of the people, and you know, put all the resources out there.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm. And we talk about it sometimes, and it's like there's some VSOs and there's some podcasters that, like, no, that's my person. I'm not sharing them with you. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, why? Why would you not? Like,
Well, and I even do this with all the guests that I have on the show. I always make the offer, and very rarely do people take me up on this offer. But I'm sincere and genuine about this offer. Is if there's ever a time when I can make a connection between a guest that I've had on my show and somebody else, whether it's another guest that I've had, or whatever the situation is, like, reach out to me, let me know. I love making those connections and in those
mm,
because that's how these networks grow, and that's how people
yeah,
get better, and all of that. So yeah, if there is an opportunity for me to share something that I have access to, then yeah, I'm gonna do it.
yeah,
Obviously, if it's sharing personal contact information, I'll ask the person first. But other than
of
that,
course.
I'm 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 all in. So like, yeah, use it. Use that
Oh, I
resource.
already have somebody I'm ready to connect you with. Like, I don't know. Have
Perfect.
you met Carolee yet? Conversations
No,
with a Vet.
no.
So she's a Marine mama, and
Okay.
she started a podcast called Conversations with a Vet. Um, I was gonna say she has two in now, but I think one is still med boarding out, and the other one just got out.
Okay.
But it has been just a roller coaster for her, and she's such a wonderful woman. And what she does is she loves to bring veterans on and just share their story.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's per se like resources and things like that. They do come out of it, but she has a lot of authors and things like that. But I really think she would love to hear your story in probably more detail than we're going to hit on tonight. But she's just, oh, she's wonderful. She's so easy to talk to, and she's that
Yeah.
Marine mama that everybody wants. And
Yeah. I'd love to chat with her. Yeah.
yeah, I
That'd
want
be
to get
great.
you hooked up with her. Her name's Carolee, but we'll definitely get you in touch with her for sure.
Great.
Because I just think that would be a great platform for you to put your personal story out there, if that's something
Sure.
that you're comfortable with, because you
Yes,
have a
absolutely.
story.
I do. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
One other thing that I don't think we touched on earlier is I actually, speaking of my story and putting it out there, I have actually written the book of my story that we're talking about here. In Surviving Son is the name of the book. Um, so literally, that's out there. I wrote the book on that story. So um, that
Mm,
basically talked about the journey in Afghanistan and losing my brother, and kind of dealing with the aftermath of all of that and
yeah,
everything. And it's you know I think one of the things that I think we have at our disposal right now that maybe veterans from Vietnam, Korea, World
mm,
War II, and previous wars, they didn't have, is the ability to publish a story, publish a book. Before, it was, like, super expensive, super
mhm.
time consuming, super, like, they didn't have computers to go write stuff, right? Like, that wasn't something
Yeah,
that you could do. Um, and even if they did have the ability to write the story, they had to, get it through a publisher to get it bound in a book and all that kinda stuff. Like, you don't need to do that anymore. Like, there's self-publishing options out there, and anybody can write a book. There's
yeah,
no restrictions, there's no limitations really to, the types of book that you can write. Um, I think we need to tell more stories because, we
absolutely.
look at these generations of World War II era, folks. Those guys are getting older, and we're those numbers are dwindling. There's not as many of them as there used to be, and
Faster than we want them to.
yeah, yeah, and our day is gonna come too. one of these days. And we still, I don't feel this way, but some of us might still feel young. um, but at some point that time is going to come, and your story could be lost with you. And that it's a shame, because there's knowledge to be gained from stories of firsthand perspective. Even if you don't, you weren't the guy charging the hill, and you weren't doing all these heroics or whatever, and it's not a super they're not making a movie out of your story or whatever, because it's not Hollywood excitement or whatever. Who cares? It's still your story, and it's still your perspective, and I think more people need to know them. Yeah. And when you take all of these stories, you take my story and the next guy's story and the next person's story, and you bring all these stories together, you kind of get a better idea of what it was like. And, if it's just my perspective, like that's just one guy's perspective. But when you take mine and somebody else's and dozens of others, and you bring them all together, you start to get a better idea of like, what was it like to be deployed? What was it like when I don't know, you could have been just the guy who was sitting on the base all deployment, and you weren't going out and kicking indoors or anything. But what was it like for you? What did you do? What was your day-to-day like? And
you also got to see the aftermath of when those came in, and when they came back, and before they left. It's funny, not that long ago somebody told something to me, and said something to me, and it kind of stuck. And it's, the good guys always write the history books. Right? And so that's this great thing about modern technology, and being able to self-publish now, and having all of these different people finally tell their story, because now the good guys really are writing history. Right? And you're able to see those different perspectives, and the different things that actually were, and what you may have went over there and saw that somebody never would have heard of if you didn't write a book.
Right.
So I think it's super important in this modern day that I completely agree with you that, tell your story. And look at you, number 3 on Feed Spot. Like, Willis took the night off, and he can't stay off anyways. We got to give him shit. So congratulations for being number 3.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
I actually didn't even know that.
Well, now you know.
No, I know. That's awesome. There's another site. It's called Listen Notes, and it has like a global ranking of podcasts, like like where you are versus any other podcast. And it's not based on any genre or anything like that. It's just globally on all of them. And mine is in the top 2.5% of all podcasts. And so I was like, how did that happen? Like,
it's like
I went from not knowing what I didn't even know I needed a microphone or any of that kind of stuff to now the first 6 episodes. Don't go back and listen to those episodes. They were crap.
I have to at least listen to 1 or 2 of them.
Definitely not the first one. That was.
And you know what? Actually, I'm going to be that mama, and I'm going to go from 2 minutes and 38 seconds too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're like, this part was screwed up. You need to go back and fix that.
Look, Willis, since you're watching, go on Listen Notes. Now I'm curious, and I know you are too. So just to see. But it says something though, and you said that's globally, and what you're doing and your passion behind it and your story, because you care, and you can tell speaking to you that it is completely selfless, and you're doing it for the reasons that are needed and they're necessary for just the horrific things that are happening with our veterans and even our first responders that are not dealing with the things that they've seen or heard or experienced, and not knowing how to deal with that, much less learning how to transition from one life to the next. That's right. So this horrible outcome that we're having from that, and losing them, and that low number of 22 that we all know is completely inaccurate. Right. It's way too many. One's too many. And
that's right.
So watching you do this and listening to you talk, I know why you're in the top 2.5%, for sure. I appreciate you. Like, I love it. I love that you decided to do those first 6 rambling podcasts on your own and not tell anybody, because look at you now. You're at 430 something. And I think about the lives that you've touched with that and the lives that you've yet to touch with that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And those folks, they may or may not reach out to me and say, "Hey, you've helped me with this," or "I needed to hear that," or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care if you reach out to me or not. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep putting these things out. I love it when people do reach out, because it gives
Oh,
me
it
a
feels
little
so good.
validation,
Yeah.
feedback that, I'm doing the right thing. It helped that person. And I remember starting it off like, "Hey, if I can help just one person," and I know people say this and it sounds like cliche, but I actually mean it. If I can help just one person,
Mhm.
then all of it would be worth it. All
Yeah.
the hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours that I've put
Mhm.
into this would be worth it if it helps just one person. And I know, just by statistics, it's helped more than just one person.
Of
But
course.
um but even if all it was one person,
Mhm.
that's it's like, think about it this way. Like, if you get the opportunity to sit down with a friend who's struggling with something, and you get to help them work through that problem, um, you kind of feel good afterwards. Like, the you start to see them kind of get through
Mhm.
the problem, work through it, and they grow and thrive, and they move on to bigger and better things. Um, and it kind of feels good. It's like, hey,
That's
I
that hurts,
remember when
right?
that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
hard.
I remember when that person was struggling, and now look at them.
Mhm.
They got everything together. Um, but this is just on a bigger scale, and that's
Absolutely.
what I was hoping for, was to
Mhm.
be able to do that. And that's why I chose a podcast as the platform to do it, because you don't need anything other than an internet connection, and maybe an account, depending on the platform that you use to listen to
Sure.
it. But I put it on all these different platforms, so you can listen to it literally wherever you want to listen to it.
Yeah.
You don't even need that. You can just go to the website and listen to it straight from my website, and you don't even need a account on anything. So,
Well,
like
do you
this,
post them on Facebook? Because
I
that's
put
free.
Facebook, I
I mean,
post them everywhere.
that's the thing, is
Twitter,
like there's so many options for these free services that people can they can catch it anywhere. And then the more
exactly.
that you're able to stream on, that's the more people that it's possible to reach. So
That's
that's
right.
it's brilliant, really. It's brilliant. I love seeing it, and I love that you're doing it. I really do. I can't, like, as a veteran and you're still selflessly serving. Thanks for that. 'Cause-
Well, I one of the things I found with all the veterans that I talk to is that we all have that sense of duty still. That
Mhm.
same, like, you're looking out for the guy on your left and the guy on your right, and you're making
Absolutely.
sure that if something happens, like, you're gonna do everything that you can to make sure that those folks are gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Um, that's the even if it means jumping on a grenade, kind of thing, like, that kind of mentality is what we had in the military, and
It doesn't just go away.
it doesn't go away. All the
Mhm.
veterans I talk to, they have that same mentality. They still have it, and it's like, okay, there's another veteran out there. I'm going to share my story. It may be uncomfortable for me to share my story, but I'm going to do it because I know that it could help somebody else,
Yeah.
and we're going to do that anyways.
Mhm.
So many
Yeah.
people, they do it. They share their story, and they're like, "Man, you know what? I wasn't so sure about this beforehand, but it actually kind of felt good to share it." Um,
Yeah. Well, and you look at, and I'm sure that you've noticed it and how many podcasts you've done, is you look at some of the resources that you find, and what percentage of them is veteran ran, because they needed to do something not only for themselves, because they needed to do
sure.
something for themselves, but they knew that that helped them. So now they want to do it to help others because of how much it helped them. So you see this large percentage of veterans going and still serving others
Yeah,
because it
and
just they
and
know it works.
one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself
Hmm.
is help other people.
Hmm.
It's seems strange, like, for people who don't do any sort of volunteer work or anything like that. When you're helping somebody else, it makes you feel better. It just
Oh gosh,
does.
it is.
I don't know the science behind it. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I don't know why it does. It just does.
Mhm.
You don't believe me?
Very
Go help
natural
somebody.
high. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is a very natural high. Go
Yeah, even
just
if veterans aren't your thing, go to the animal shelter and volunteer for an
yeah.
hour. Like,
I mean,
there's
there's
something that you
dogs
wanna
there
get
for
out
crying
and your
out loud.
shoulders are up and yeah,
Yeah,
whatever
you
it
know?
is. Like, it just giving your time and helping somebody, it is. It's pretty
It's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, exactly.
So I do have a question for you. I was
Yes.
thinking about it because you were talking about your company. And I'm very sorry first and foremost about your brother, um, and
Thank you.
those that you lost from your company as well. Did you did you have any of those that you served with? Did have you done a podcast with any of them?
I've done podcasts with a few guys that I served with, yeah.
Okay.
Um, and one of the guys, he he struggled too when he got back, but he
Mhm.
discovered that basically found himself in the outdoors. He
Mhm.
described it as the outdoors is his church, it's his therapist, it's his recreation. It's
Yeah.
all of those things packaged into one. I forget all the he had a few others that he listed, but it's all those things packaged into one. And whether it's just going out in nature for a hike or rock climbing or kayaking or just getting outside, getting out that where you can just kind of be alone and not alone necessarily, but away from all the noise of the
Yes.
city and work and all these other things. It's just getting out there. Another guy that I had on also he was struggling a little bit and he found uh, he went to the VA like a group therapy session and they mentioned that they had the VA had art classes, like painting, and he's like, "I've never painted before. What am I gonna do here?" But they're like, "Yeah," and the guy teaches in the style of Bob Ross, and he's
Oh,
like,
fun. Happy
he's like,
trees.
I watched Bob Ross when I was younger, and that guy's awesome." It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go give it a try, and so he did, and he goes after the first lesson, he went out to the art supply store and he bought all the things that you could buy, all the brushes, all the canvases and easels and all the things that you could buy, and he just kept going and he just painted and he has some of the most beautiful artwork
Mm.
out there and it's great. So yeah, I've talked to a few of the guys. Another guy that I served with, he became a yoga instructor. He actually used his GI Bill benefits for that, which I didn't realize
Nice.
that you could do. um
Huh.
to go take those classes to become a yogurt, I almost said yogurt, uh, yoga
Makes
instructor.
Yogurt makes people happy.
Yogurt might make people happy too. Um, but no, a yoga instructor. And so, yeah, I've talked to a few of the guys that I've had that I served with, and it's great. First off, we get to catch up with the guys, but also you get to hear like, okay, what have you been up to? What's going on with you, and how you getting by? What's going on with you, and that kind of thing. So
Hmm. Well, it's nice to hear that so many of them have found their peacefulness,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and a way to escape that in sorts. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I love it. I love it, Scott. It is.
yeah, it's great.
I'm looking forward to going and listening to some of yours. Um, so with you being a Gold Star family member,
Hmm.
how much do you find yourself getting involved in things for Gold Star families? And
In the beginning, like shortly after my brother was killed, we got involved with a lot of stuff.
yeah,
There were a lot of organizations and things that did stuff for Gold Star families.
uh-huh.
My mom actually was on the board of a nonprofit that was creating a memorial back in Connecticut for all the soldiers and airmen and Marines and sailors and everyone who were killed in the global war on terror from Connecticut. So it's called the Connecticut Trees of Honor, and it's a basically like a park area. Has like a walking path, and along the path there's these stones that have like a picture and a little information about each of the people who were from Connecticut who were killed, in a tree planted right there for them. So as those trees grow, it's going to become like big and full and everything. It's going to be pretty beautiful. So and there's other stuff to the memorial as well, but it's so we were involved with that a little bit for a brief period of time, or my family anyways. My mom was heavily involved with it. I helped a little bit too with certain things, but we did a golf tournament for a memorial fund that we had set up for my brother. We did that every year, like around the anniversary of his death.
Yeah.
And other events that were going on, we were involved with. I found for me though, it got to be too much.
Yeah.
Where I super appreciative of all the things that the people were doing. But it was like when I'm constantly surrounded by all the sadness, I felt like I couldn't be happy, or almost that I felt guilty for being happy.
Right.
And I still feel that way sometimes. But it was like, it felt like it was all the time, and I couldn't move on from that. And you don't move on, maybe is not the right word, because you never get over it. But having, just being able to be happy, I felt like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I really know that nowadays I don't really get involved too much in those types of things. We do get a postcard every year, a couple times a year, from some Gold Star family organizations, just hey, thinking of you, around this time of year, and that type of thing, which is nice. That people are thinking of us, and we get those little reminders.
Sure.
But as far as the other events and organizations, for me, it was hard to keep doing.
I can understand that. And appreciate that for sure. Of course, just out of curiosity, wanting to know if you're involved with that. But there's also one that we just recently did a podcast with called Blue Skies.
Okay.
And I feel like you would really like to have them on your podcast.
I would love to.
They focus on Blue Star, Gold Star, and your Purple Hearts. And they go skydiving, and it's a memory for those families. They bring the family, and they spend a weekend, and they all do a jump. It's like a tandem jump, but they all have their picture in their pocket, and it's a great memorial that they do. And you'll definitely, Willis and I have to connect you with them too. I think Carolee and them would be wonderful connections for you, especially just not necessarily that you would have to be involved, but something else that you can share, and something that's a little, close to your heart.
I was going to say, I am absolutely petrified of heights, so I am not going to go skydiving, but I would be glad to have them on the show and talk with them. I always said,
I don't qualify being,
sure,
Gold Star, Blue Star, or Purple Heart, but I want to go jump out of a plane. Like, tie me up to somebody. Let's go.
Oh my gosh. I was asked when I was in the Army to go to airborne school, jumping out of planes and parachutes and all that stuff. And I was like, listen, if I get on a perfectly good airplane with a perfectly good parachute, I'm going to land in a perfectly good airplane with a perfectly good parachute. There is no way you're getting me to jump out of that plane. You'll have to throw me out.
That's why you were in the Army. No, I'm joking.
Boots on the ground. I'm good with that. I'll walk for days. I'm fine with that. Put me in a plane. No thanks.
I don't know. To me, it's one of those things. They put me in a plane, and it's like, I want to jump, but I know if I don't do it right, like, I'm not gonna make it. So I want to do it the right way. It's just so tempting. You look down, and it's like you just want to go through the fluffy clouds. And I know they're not really that way when you go through them, but the thought's there.
Right.
Looks like you should bounce.
It does. It's almost like in the video games or the cartoons or
Yes.
whatever. Like
What
you
is
think
it, Mario, that got us
yeah,
all confused with that when we were younger? It's like you just want to jump on a cloud.
it's like cotton candy out there, like
Yes.
white cotton candy.
Yes. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I wonder if Doc's still on here. He's one of our very good friends. I think he just had a birthday. I saw him pop on, but
okay.
this is. I do. I love what you're doing, Scott. I do. I love that you're this far into it. I can't wait to hear when you come out with episode 500 and you're still going strong. And we'll have to make a.
That'll be around this time next year. Because I go 2 episodes a week.
Okay.
On my show, and so it's roughly 104 episodes a year. And so yeah. Every year I'm going to be putting out. I started off with 1 episode a week, and then partway through it, I decided I want to do more. I had so many people coming to me. I had so much content. I was like, I got to put 2 out a week, and I have not missed a single week of putting out an episode since I started, and that was over 5 years ago, and I started doing 2 episodes a week, and I still haven't missed a single week of putting out something. So
it's hard to miss it. It's hard to not want to do it and have the ability to put more out there. So I'm trying to remember when Willis started, if he had, it was either one a month or one every 2 weeks. And then it went to one every week. And then it was 2 every week. And then of course, recently we were like, let's do 4 a week. And like, that was smart.
I think whatever it is that, for anyone out there who's doing something like that, whatever it is that you do, just do it consistently. That way people know, okay, every Tuesday or whatever, there's going to be an episode. Every Thursday, every Friday, whatever the day is, whatever the frequency is, every other Tuesday or every other Wednesday, whatever the days are. Or on the the 1st and the 15th of the month or something, can keep it consistent. And then people will be more likely to check it out. Plus, like I don't know if like when we were younger, we didn't have like the Netflix and all that kind of stuff. It was like I looked forward to watching a certain show at 8 o'clock on Thursdays or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking forward to that all week. I'm like, hey, I remember it was a cliffhanger last week, and I want to see what the next thing is going to be like, and so I look forward
think
to
about us or even our parents. There were nights it's like the phone was not allowed to ring. Like, no, don't call me at this time. We're watching this show.
The show is on. Unless someone's dying, I don't want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not answering it. And no, it is. That consistency is for sure key.
Sure.
I think in anything, but especially something like this where you get somebody used to having a certain time or a certain day that they come in and they expect something, and it's like they miss that and they're disappointed. You don't.
And part of it too was I've been to some therapy sessions since coming back from Afghanistan. And I'm probably saying that lightly. Like I still go to therapy, but every once in a while there's a situation where like therapist doesn't show up for or not that they just don't show up or whatever, but like they have to cancel or whatever. And you almost, I know this is not true, but it's almost like, oh, there was something more important than me, and so like I know that's not true, but sometimes someone might have that kind of mindset,
sure,
right?
absolutely.
And so in the back of my head, I'm like, look, there's nothing more important than putting out these episodes, so I'm going to put them out, as long as I'm able to. Yes, there are things in my personal life that are more important. If there's something wrong with my wife or my kids or something like that, I'm going to take care of them.
Priorities.
But that's just a prioritization type of thing. But with that said, I pre-record episodes. I have episodes recorded out till October right now, and we're beginning of August. So if something happens, I'm not gonna miss a beat for the next couple months right now. So
right.
we're good to go.
Yeah, that's a luxury of pre-recorded. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
went
you guys
full
do
live.
it live, so this is a lot
But
of
you know what? You know
coordination.
how much? But do you know how much time we save with not editing? Like, you
Oh,
know what? It's raw. Here it is. It is what it is.
Yep.
We go back and get some great blooper reels from it, but you know, it it happens. And it just
You do save a
those
lot
little
of time
things.
when it's
Oh
like that.
yes.
I just think that the coordination, like for me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out like when to get someone here and can they show up and will they show up? And then what am I going to do? Just, just me doing my happy dance? I don't know.
I
I
mean,
guess it
you
could be.
got to do what you got to do.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
if
You
it
come up
works,
with
it
something.
works.
Yeah,
You know?
it's luckily like the one time that we had somebody they just couldn't come. They didn't show up. So we happened to have the Vietnam Wall here in town, and it was like, all right, we're just going live. Like,
Excellent.
we're gonna wing it. So it worked out. But
That works out. Yeah.
you always have people in the background. It's like, hey, come jump on with us, and we'll talk about whatever. But
Yeah.
it's a good time. Live is a good time.
That's cool.
It really is.
Yeah, no, I like doing. I've been on a few shows that were live like this, and it's kind of cool because it's just free flowing, and it's just a conversation, two people, chatting about whatever the topic is. It's kind of cool,
Mhm.
you know.
I have thoroughly enjoyed ours, Scott. Definitely have. So it looks like we are coming up on an hour. I don't know. Is there something that we've missed about you or your anything that you do or something that you want to get out there? What's something that we haven't covered?
You know, I think the biggest thing for me is just getting the message out there to other veterans,
Mhm.
to their family members, if necessary, to whoever, that there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Whatever it is that you're going through, there's a better future. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow. You may not see it right away.
Yeah.
It might be going through some struggle. Um, I'm a firm believer that we go through struggles and there's a reason for it. We may
Mhm.
not know the reason. We may not even like the reason. If we did know the reason, we may not
Right.
like it, right? But we go through these struggles for a reason. They
Mhm.
help us grow and they shape us into the type of person that we're supposed to be. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not the type of person that we're supposed to be for us. Maybe it's the type of person we're supposed to be for somebody else. Maybe it's to help show your kids how to be more resilient. Maybe it's to show, I don't know, your coworker or your neighbor or somebody who is in your life, how you got through whatever this situation was. And so I just want to keep spreading messages like that to folks to let them know that it's worth fighting. It's worth fighting for. Keep going, keep fighting, keep doing what you're doing. Um, you'll get through this. It might seem really difficult. It might seem damn near impossible at times. You might feel like you're drowning or that you're suffocating or whatever the feeling is that you just can't keep your head above water, but you'll get there. Keep treading the water. Keep treading. Whatever the analogy is you want to use, you'll get there. You'll have that moment of clarity, and things will start to get better. And I know because I've been there. Trust me, I know it may seem difficult right now. It may seem like it's not even worth it,
Mhm.
but it is. Keep
Mhm.
fighting. And that's, I'm going to close on anything. I think that's what I want to close on.
I don't think that can be topped. I can't. You said that perfectly, and I think the only thing that I was going to say is, and it's worth it. But
Yeah.
you covered that too, and you're a beautiful human being, Scott, and
I appreciate it.
what you're doing is it's changing lives. It's saving lives. And that's our purpose right now, right? That's what we have to focus on.
Yeah, it's a new mission is the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
We had the mission to go serve the country. Now we have to serve each other and help each other out where we can.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
There's enough of us out there that we should be able to make a pretty solid impact.
We should.
We need to focus our efforts,
I always say, it takes a village, and the more we can grow that village, the better it gets.
Yeah.
We have to take care of our people. But yeah, I can't even add anything to that, Scott. You got me all in my feels. You got my goose pimples going, but you're right. Like, we just got to continue doing what we're supposed to be doing and striving to make sure that somebody knows that waking up the next day is worth it.
As hard as it may be, you may wake up thinking to yourself, man, I wish I just didn't. But get up, take a shower, go for a walk, get some fresh air, move, do something with your day, and take it one day at a time. And get a little bit better each day. Maybe today you just went for a walk. Maybe tomorrow you go for a walk and you do, I don't know, add something else. Getting back to work, getting into a routine. And when you start doing these things and they become a habit, they start to feel weird when you don't do them. And when those things are taking care of yourself, you're only going to get better. So,
yeah, for sure. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. And I hope other than your story, probably going to touch so many people just from your experience, but look him up. Look up Scott DeLuzio, and definitely look up Drive On Podcast. Go check it out. He's got 430 something episodes that you can go scroll through those, because I guarantee you there's some good ones in there and some great things that I think would help some people or something that you can share with somebody you know. So definitely go like, follow, and share the Drive On Podcast. It's going to be worth it. But I sent you a private chat over here on the side. So before you hop off, if you don't mind, but again, it truly has been a pleasure. And we thank you for your time, and we thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate that. It's one of those things. A lot of times veterans get thanked for their service, and they're like, it's kind of almost an awkward feeling, like they don't know how to respond to that. I feel like when someone thanks me for my service, I want to thank them for thanking me, like as opposed to like, normal thank you, you're welcome kind of exchange. I feel like I need to respond with a thank you, because I've seen the way veterans were treated and service members were treated, like Vietnam era, where they were getting spit on and called all sorts of names and stuff like that. And it's like, no, thank you for being a good person.
You know what? You can make it a thank you battle. You respond to it however you want to respond to it.
I'm going to, and that's what I do. I thank people for it. So I show my appreciation.
Well, it is very much appreciated. But like I said, if you guys have not yet and you don't know Mr. Scott DeLuzio here, definitely go find him. Go follow him. Go check out some of the stuff that he's spreading, because it's important. And it's life-saving for sure.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Mr. Scott, you have a wonderful evening. And
thank you. You too.
I look forward to talking to you again. I'd love to talk to you again in a year when you hit that 500 for sure.
We'll do. Yeah, we'll put something on the calendar, I'm sure.
Yes, we should. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night edition of Homefront Sitrep. And like we always say, stay safe out there. We got your 6.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Stay safe out there. I got your 6.